There you go. Yeah,
All
perfect.
right, cool.
Nailed it. Nailed it. How are
Everyone's
you?
using like the desk services or surfaces in the house, so I have a makeshift desk on a dresser and a kitchen chair. So
Okay. All right. You got to do what you got to do.
yeah,
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's funny because my daily like lifestyle hasn't changed at all.
Okay. So
It's off season, so
uh-huh.
I'm just doing the same old stuff.
Yeah, you just changed the name to quarantine life.
Exactly, exactly. Not off season. It's just quarantine.
Uh-huh. And what have you been doing during quarantine?
You know what's so weird is I feel like I've been really busy. Like, but I think probably because everyone's home. I live with my dad and my
Mm-hmm.
stepmom, my
Mm-hmm.
husband, my brother, and my stepsister. So
Okay.
it's busy in here. I've done a few puzzles. Um,
Nice.
I'm reading Game of Thrones, and
And
it's taken it out of me. It's dense, but
uh-huh.
I really like it. But it's taken me. If in a normal quarantine, I would have probably already read quite a few books. But I'm like
Mm-hmm.
on the second Game of Thrones book. It's like so slow, but it's great.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch the
Yeah.
show?
I did not, so I don't know a thing. I don't even
Okay.
know what to picture with the people because I didn't watch like a single second of the show.
And do you have plans to watch Game of Thrones after you're done with the books?
I think it'd be cool. I know my husband has said he wants to at some point watch it, but yeah, I'm sure it's as a reader, it's hard to read something and then see it on the screen and see how much they change. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
they're little struggles.
Yeah. One of your jobs as a Barnes and Noble books ambassador uh, is to show all your friends all the great books that you read. How did you get that job?
I was looking in getting something in the off season, and I really wanted to get a job at Lululemon because I wanted to get an employee discount. We'll call it what it is.
Yeah, right.
Um, I applied at 3 Lulus and didn't hear back from any of them. And so one day we were just driving, and my husband said, he's like, "What if we just stop by Barnes and Noble? Like, you're such a nerd." And so we drove into Barnes and Noble, and I asked like the cash register girl, I was like, "Hey, do you guys know if you're hiring?" And she's like, "I don't know," but the manager was right behind her, and she's like, "Yeah, we're still hiring for the holidays. Whatever, you want to just go to this website, fill this out, whatever." Went home that night, filled it out, got a call the next day for a phone interview. Went in the day after, had an in-person interview, and got the job. The first thing she says when we
Sounds like
sat down,
fate.
she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "So I see you have zero experience other than sports. This isn't a great start, but yes, that's correct. I've never sold anything."
uh And then,
Yeah.
have you always been kind of an avid reader, or was that something that started later in life?
No, my mom actually, even hearing stories of when I was really little, like in preschool or kindergarten, leading the reading session before nap time. Like I would be reading the book. Like that's something that I can always remember books, like reading books or going to the bookstore back when Borders was still a thing.
R.I.P.
Yeah, God, that was a rough time for all of us.
Right?
But yeah, no, it's been my whole life. Even in college, when I didn't have a lot of time to pleasure read, I still would bring a stack of books with me when I moved in to be like, you know what, just in case I can read some
Right. Yeah.
more. Yeah.
hmm Um, what genre is your jam, or do you have several?
I have one main jam, and it's World War II Holocaust era.
Oh,
I will read. I know it's
uplifting.
it's very very fun.
Uh-huh.
It's so dark. It's like the worst. What book can I read that makes me just feel horrible? And that's pretty much what I go for.
hmm
Um, but yeah, anything written in the Holocaust era, I will devour. I don't know what it is. My mom's side of the family is Jewish, so I think that might have kind of something to do with it. But it's just
hmm
fascinated me as ever since I read like in middle school, Diary of Anne Frank. It's been over for me.
Have you been to Anne Frank's house?
I have, yes. I waited in line. It was about 2 hours to get in the house. And
Hmm.
I would do it every day. Again, I would do it 100 times again.
Thoughts on that experience?
I, gosh, it's actually kind of crazy because I've been thinking about her experience and what I learned from her book through this time, because it's hard for people to be cooped up, but there was not a negative thing about what she said or what she learned. She still was able to grow and learn through a time of where you literally couldn't speak in the house because they were afraid of getting found. So going and being in there and understanding the space and what she had to do, and the fact that she was still so positive and so still trying to have, regular girl experiences of her age. I mean, you just think about it and it just puts your life into so much perspective, and I always am inspired by her and what she's going through, and it makes me try to take the positive out of now, where it's like, I've got Wi-Fi, like it's cool.
Yeah.
I'll sit at home. I've got stuff, so it really switches your perspective.
Yeah. So do you feel kind of like an Anne Frank of the modern era?
You know what? Yeah, I as dramatic as that sounds, I'd like to think that she'd be proud.
Yeah.
Oh, the drama.
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, some people are behaving that way. Like it's,
Yeah. Seriously.
It's so difficult to bear for some people.
Truly.
Yeah. But for you, I mean,
I
not so much.
feel, honestly, I said this to my husband. We were walking the dog the other day, and I was like, I feel like I'm doing all right. Like I don't feel like I'm yearning for anything. Obviously, I miss my friends, and I want to be able to see people. And I actually had a trip planned up. One of my best friends lives up north in California, and I was supposed to go spend the weekend with her. Had to cancel it, which was like the first real big bummer for me. But I feel like I'm making the most of the time, especially having a goal of getting ready for season. Training has been my all day thing. Like, how can I fit in meals in between working out or training? So I've been enjoying the opportunity to just keep working out, because at least I have that.
Do you feel like your experience in Japan has kind of helped you in this situation?
That's an awesome. I hadn't thought of it, but absolutely. I mean, even though we were at the field or with the team for for the better part of the entire day, I'd be in my apartment after all that, by myself. I didn't have a TV. I mean, I had my computer and Wi-Fi, but it was pretty much, how do I keep myself occupied by myself for 4 or 5 hours just on my own. So I definitely learned how to be content over there, and I think that is really translating into here, where kind of when the stay-at-home thing happened for California, it was kind of like, okay. It wasn't like, oh no, it was like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think it translates.
I spent 3 months in Austria, and I felt like
Wow.
that I was coaching softball,
Fun.
and I felt like, I mean, it definitely tests you. But there's also like something kind of peaceful about it, because I mean, it wasn't quite like a quarantine, like we could still go outside, but I wasn't really talking to anybody.
Right.
I
You
didn't.
can't.
Yeah. I couldn't speak the language.
Yeah.
But you, at some point, you make your peace with it because you have no
Yeah.
other option almost.
Right. Yeah. What else are you gonna do? Are you gonna
Drive
learn
yourself
a different
crazy.
language? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even surrounded by all the people, you're still relatively by yourself, because what you can't
Right.
communicate, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. So yeah, it is peaceful. You're kind of like, all right, that's what I'm doing.
Talk a little bit about your experience playing in Japan, and what do you remember from either that first practice or when you the first time you arrived in Japan?
I I remember when we first, like our very first practice we went to, my teammate was Jordan Taylor, and we were all standing in line, and all the girls were introducing themselves because it was like my first practice. Jordan had already played there for a season, and I remember I'm not gonna remember one of their names. I felt like so guilty right then. I was like, I'm not gonna remember this. And then they were like, tell us something interesting about yourself in this group, of people who I just met. And I'm like, I don't know what's going to be interesting. And Jordan goes like, tell them you're married. And so I told them I was married, and they were all like, oh, wow, crazy. They just thought it was the most fascinating thing ever. And I just remember being so impressed watching them practice and getting out there and practicing with them. From day one, I just was so impressed with them, the way that they played, the way that they could just field everything. There's a bad hop, they don't care. They'll catch it. It doesn't matter. They'll wear it off their face and continue to play, So I just remember that my first reaction, my first real feeling was just super impressed with how they play the game and how freaking hard they work. It motivated me in so many ways that I didn't even realize I could be motivated in, because I felt like I was a hard worker. I've always felt like I've worked hard. And then I got out there, I was like, wow, I think maybe I can step my game up a little bit, work a little bit harder, because these girls are inspiring me to do so, because there's no competition with how hard they work. But
yeah, and also the level of detail that how everything is done is,
yeah.
I don't even know the word to kind of describe it. It's just for them, it's just so precise, and there's a beauty and a synchronicity in it. Like when you mentioned them taking infield, it's like such a beautiful dance on the field.
Yes, it's an art.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable, and they it translates in the game. You can see, especially the pitchers, like you talk about being pinpoint and detailed, like they can hit like if they want to hit right here, they will pitch it right there. Like they won't miss their spots in defense and games. You get a bad hop in the game, but they've practiced 100,000 times that week. So when the game comes and they get that bad hop, they're like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
it's a good hop.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's beautiful.
I'm going to rattle off on some of your accolades.
Please.
You ready for this?
Oh God.
Do you need to put on a crown right now or a sash?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, so you graduated from LMU in 2012. You're the first All-American in school history. You're number one in the record books for LMU in home runs, RBIs, total bases, batting average, slugging percentage, runs scored, doubles, and walks. And then you earned a spot. Here. Yeah, you did all that. And it's really amazing. And I mean, you're so talented on the field, but I think along with great talent and longevity in your career, it takes a great amount of confidence. And you didn't come from like UCLA or Oklahoma, and you came from a great university, LMU. But can you talk? I kind of want to dig into like, where does that confidence come from, and where is it kind of reinforced in your life?
That's an amazing question, and to be honest, I don't think I've really ever used the word confidence to describe myself. Like, I think that that's amazing to hear, because sometimes I feel like, am I good enough? Like I struggle with that. But I think where it probably comes from is knowing the behind the scenes, knowing how much work I've put into it, knowing what I do on the daily basis to get to this point. Sometimes I have to remind myself, like, reading a list like that, reminding myself, look at the things that you've done, look at where you're at now, look at where you've gone. And then it kind of gives me a little sense of, like what you said, like, I did that. Like that was me.
Right.
So there are days when I do feel like I need to remind myself of those things, but I honestly think that it comes down to hard work. I know that whether I have a good game or a bad game, I can look back and think, you know what, I put the work in, and I know that if I didn't do very well, I can rely on what I've put in to pick me up the next game, but I really have struggled with confidence, especially going into situations where I did come from a small school where, other girls were playing in these big, huge programs and these big conferences. So it almost, without even stepping on the field, made me feel a little bit nervous, like, shoot, like, I don't feel like I have anything in common with anybody right now, which I remember that feeling at the first USA tryout was, I don't have anything in common with anybody here. And then we all, put our pants on the same way. So it's like, man, we all play softball, so I guess we do have something in common. But yeah, just reminding myself of what I've done, and the fact that I am still here, that I'm going to be 30 this year, and I'm still playing. That to me makes me feel really, really good. Like, obviously I've been doing something to make it work continuously.
Right.
So I think that's where it comes from. Yeah.
I would imagine, you mentioned, like, we all put on our pants one pant leg at a time.
Right.
But are there also moments when you're on the field at that tryout when you're like, dude, I can do this better?
It's actually,
Come on, be honest. Be honest.
they're that very first tryout, you've been to tryouts, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've seen how they go.
Yeah.
You have the skills stuff, and it almost was a realization of, okay, these are the same ground balls I've been getting. These are the same front toss pitches. So it's the same sport. So that kind of helps having the skills before going into the inter squad stuff. But I remember my first at bat, it was against Dallas Escobedo, and I hit a double down the left field line, and I got to second base, and I had watched her win a national championship the year before on TV, and I'm standing on second base, and that was that moment where I was like, maybe I can do this, like, okay.
Yeah.
So realizing that it was the same sport, even though it was these superstar faces that I was seeing, and competing against and competing with now, sitting back on knowing this is just the game that I've been playing my whole life. Like, I can do this no matter where I came from.
Do you feel like those same words were kind of reinforced from your family and friends?
Absolutely. My mom and my mom's parents, so my grandparents, they're not sports people, but they obviously came to all my games and cheered and rah, so on that level, I don't know. I think they just rooted for me because I'm their family, But then my dad, who's the sports guy, he was really pumping me up. He went with me to tryouts, the very first tryout, because he's like, it might be the only USA experience we have, So he went with, and he watched everything, and he was the one who was like, you can, like, you deserve to be here. You are worthy of being here. Go out there and show them what you can do, what we know that you can do. And that to me was, the boost I think that I needed to go out there and not be intimidated, not be afraid, to just go out and play the game I love. And fortunately it translated into making the team and being with them for a few years.
And how did it feel when you received that news that you made it?
it was, they told us individually in person, which of all the years that I was on the team and tried out for the teams, it was the only time that happened. It was all through email the later years. So I sat down with Coach Erickson and Ronnie, and Coachy, how do you think it went? And I was like, well, I think it went cool. I got some hits, made some friends. And I'm sweating obviously, and he casually says, well, I want to let you know that you've got a spot on the U.S. women's national team. And my first thing, I was like, can I give you a hug? And he's like, no, you wait. I was like, all right, be cool, Sam, be cool, it's fine. But we weren't allowed to say anything. And my dad was in the hotel, so I secretly went to my dad, and I was like, hey, can you meet me in the stairwell, be all secret. And I just looked at him, and I was kind of like, I made it. And we lost it. We hugged, we laughed, we cried. We couldn't believe that something that was a dream, an actual just dream, in that who knew it could be close to reality, the fact that it was happening right then and there. We were just overwhelmed with emotion. It was, I'll never forget that moment.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the other side, though. The other of, we talk a lot about, our best moments and whatnot, but sometimes we don't talk about when we encounter moments of disappointment and things don't work out the way we hope. And I'd like you, if you're comfortable talking about it, just talk about what you felt not making the final roster, and kind of in limbo sometimes with the team going back and forth, and what was that like, and how did you handle that emotionally?
So in 2013, when I fully didn't make it, I knew I wasn't going to make it. I had a terrible tryout. I would have been delusional to think that I still had a shot. I just didn't do good. And I was dealing with a shoulder injury. So not only did I not hit, but I couldn't throw the ball. It was just embarrassing. But it's still getting the email. I walked out to my dad in the living room, and I said, I didn't make it. And then I said, just give me a second. And I went back into my room, and I went back to sleep. And it was really challenging, because everything was done. I graduated college, what did I have but softball? So that was actually a huge transformation year for me, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all the good stuff. I ended up going to therapy to deal with, who am I? Why am I in pain? What are some of these things that maybe I knew about myself but never dealt with, because I always had softball. I always had the sport to, we know it sometimes it's an outlet, hard day, pound some balls off the tee, and you feel better.
Yeah.
So what had I been really pushing down and avoiding, that now I have to face? So I went through therapy. I went through physical therapy. I just did a whole cleanse, a deep detail of Sam Fischer. And I learned a lot about how far can I continue to push myself. And I think I really truly realized what softball was to me, because I made the choice to try again. This is now 10 years ago. I could have stopped. I didn't need to play anymore. But it really hit me that, no, I cannot not at least try. So, but then fast forward, after making the team a couple more times, then making it as an alternate, then making it the second team, or the B team, the elite, whatever. That's where some of the issues with my confidence started to go a little bit, because there were times where I felt like I proved myself during season, and there were times where I felt like I proved myself during tryouts, and it felt like there comes again, maybe I'm just not good enough, because, or maybe I'm not good enough for them, and turning it on myself. So it was hard. I dealt with, bitterness is a tough word, but I mean, what can you say other than I feel like I earned it? and I didn't get it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I've always been sort of into listening to what the universe is telling me. And in 2016, when I made it as on the second team, I hit home runs at the tryouts. Like I thought I had a good tryout. You know, for me, I'm a run producer and throw me wherever you want to on the infield kind of player. And I feel like I produced runs at tryouts and I played multiple, you know, I felt like I did what I was supposed to do as a player. So when I made the second team, I thought, what is the universe trying to tell me? And that's when I got the offer to play with Akron, and this kind of new door opened up, and I was starting to try to listen to that a little bit more. And just from there, from starting to play in the pro side and everything like that, it turned a negative into a positive, because I think I did my best to not let the down stuff keep me down. You know,
Yeah.
like there were days where I sulked, believe me, I sulked, you know, because it sucked. You know, I wanted to be an Olympian. You know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. But going forward, that's why I think I got the opportunity to play in Japan, and that's why I feel like I'm sitting here now, being able to talk about all this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're also conditioned to figure out what's not working and work on those things.
Right.
And, you know, so we are, as softball players, we are hardwired to figure that out. And sometimes life doesn't operate that way. And then the other thing that's kind of rolled up into that, and as much as we talk about softball, not we shouldn't focus on the outcomes. They're there, you know, and it is a source of validation, and we get a lot of not necessarily confidence, but I guess validation is the right word. So it's like these external things that feed into how I feel about myself internally, versus where things kind of switch for you is like you started feeling from the inside, and then things started to happen out.
Right. That's true.
And it's such a hard lesson to learn. It is like so painful when you feel like you've done all the things, and you know, I probably did better than that person. And not even that, like my whole career stands as a whole. You get what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying they're right or wrong. Those are decisions that are made outside of our control, but it could, especially for a lot of people, you've dedicated your life to this, and it means a lot. It's your body of work. And when somebody indirectly says that it's not quite good enough, you know, that's really painful. And
that's so true.
And I'm just like, it's so awesome to see how you've pivoted, and now you have a career that not many Americans have in Japan, where you get to play in front of like tens of thousands of people. A lot of people don't even know that about the pro league, just how large of a following it has. So I think it's awesome. But a serious question. You wrote something on Twitter.
Oh God.
Let's not forget that Rapunzel was quarantined and met her future husband. So let's think positively here. Wow. This was a turning point in your Twitter and Instagram career. Can you talk about that moment?
I would love to, because I remember sitting there snickering to myself, thinking about this tweet I was about to type, thinking, this is so stupid. And then I kept getting, like, every time I went on Twitter, you know, because to be fair, Twitter is kind of where I see most of my news, you know?
Yeah.
So every time I open Twitter, I'm like 20 plus notifications. This doesn't happen all the time. And it's just people retweeting this and commenting back. I could not believe the response it got, because I just thought it was like snicker funny, like Rapunzel.
Yeah.
And then it got like, it was on these meme pages. I saw myself on the Explore page on Instagram. It was so strange. And then it's like, I thought this was regular funny. And then it went, I guess viral funny. So
Yeah.
I had a kind of a moment of pride, because I created this thought out of nothing, just sitting here trying to make light of a situation. And, and then I saw someone typed it out and put it on their front lawn.
Are you
like,
serious?
I swear they put it on a sign in their front lawn without giving any, giving any credit to the author, but it's fine as long as it made it there. As long as people are thinking positively. But that was one of the wildest weeks of my life, was this this response. And so many people, I thought it was all fun and games, right? So many people are like, she was kidnapped. Like, don't you know the difference? And I was like, you realize you're defending a fictional character, right?
Yeah. It's one that somebody always has something to say. I think that's part of the reason why I'm not all that active on social.
Yeah.
It's like a jungle out there.
It is wild. It's like that.
But
scene in
you
Mean
face
Girls.
it head on. You're on Twitter, getting your tweet on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I do love getting my tweet on, that's for sure. Especially because I feel like I've always tried to stand for, like, believing in what you say and meaning what you say. So if somebody wants to kind of, especially when we talk about softball or in that kind of realm, if people come at me, I want to stand up for myself. I want to defend what I believe in. You know what I mean? So without being nasty or without being rude or being like, oh, you're ugly.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's been a different kind of challenging for me to deal with the trolls on the internet who just want to say something rude and just like, whatever, don't, because you see a lot of people taking things so seriously, or if someone says something rude to them, like, it affects people personally, and I want to try to make sure that, hey, look at what this person said that's mean to me, and they're like, I don't care, it's fine, let's move on.
How does that not feel like an attack sometimes from those trolls?
I'm going to tell you, there was, I don't know if you remember seeing it, the NCAA posted a video, and it was this guy, this college athlete, and it showed him waking up. Do you remember this?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
And so I tweeted about it, and I was like, well, for my experience as an NCAA athlete, I this, that, and the other. And so many people started, because I had to wear the same outfit all day. You go to weights, you have practice, work out extra. Why am I going to go and change, especially because LMU, we didn't get a whole lot of gear. So I didn't have that many LMU shirts to wear that were given. So many people started calling me nasty and gross and, oh, you should have figured this out. And I sat there and I was like, I did shower eventually. Like, and I'm like, wait, now I'm sitting here, these strange, someone called me musty. I don't even know what that means, but thank you, sir. And, it made me, I'm sitting here like, I graduated 8 years ago, and now I feel like I have to go back and defend what I did in college because of this tweet. It's weird. It's such a weird feeling. But it was almost like we said, like changing the way you look at it, where it started to make me laugh. And like, I'm not going to get upset about this because, number one, you don't know me. Second of all, I shouldn't have to explain that LMU at this point in my career didn't have a locker room. We didn't have a place to go and shower or change our clothes or get our laundry done. Like, we didn't have that. So, but why do I need to tell, Sir Mix-a-Lot 28 on Twitter my situation? So looking at it more as a joke now has really helped when people are like, come at you and call you mean names on Twitter.
Yeah, and I feel like it's mostly, I'm not like trying to men shame, but it comes from the majority of
the
men,
time.
like even when we post videos of technique, it's the men that are like, well, she can get more power. Dude, it's Amanda Lorenz. I don't think she's gonna take advice from a dad who
who's tweeting her. Yeah, it's a wild ride. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Just like keep that thought to yourself.
Yeah. What? Oh, it's yeah. Especially with all the talk of different player, like especially mechanics or when you show like a highlight reel and people are like, oh well, this fence is only 200 feet. I'm like, thanks for pointing it out, sir. Like it's going over. Like do you all like I
Yeah.
can.
Well, it's it really gets under my skin because it's the pervasive message that it's not enough.
Yes.
What you're doing is not enough, and at the end of the day, women, you are not enough. And
Nothing you do.
fuck that.
Exactly. Yes. I was just talking yesterday to Amanda Chittister. We were talking about like eating habits and weight and your body image and all that kind of stuff. And we both decided we're like, it's just like there's so many things that are just not fair because, well, oh, if you do this, oh, you're too skinny. Oh, if you lift weights, you're too manly. Or if you like there's so many just different kind of things where, okay, if you hit a home run, well, that's not that big of a deal because it's not a far fence. Or, oh, if you strike someone out, well, you're throwing from 10 feet away.
Not enough.
You're so freaking spot on. Oh, well, all right.
Well, that's good. This has been a great conversation.
On that note, I'll just I'll see myself to the kitchen.
Yeah. Oh, back home. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was just a thought that just came to my mind as we were talking about it.
It was great.
Mm-hmm.
It was great.
Yeah. So let's pivot a little bit. I got pretty deep, kind of heavy. You mentioned you're reading Game of Thrones. Are you into music at all? What kind of music are you listening to?
I actually, almost a year ago this month, Jordan Taylor and I saw Ed Sheeran in Tokyo, and it made both of our dreams just come, like we were laughing, we were crying. It was just the most emotional evening probably of either of our lives. I'm supposed to probably say it was the day I got married, but it was when I saw Ed Sheeran in concert.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
But no, I listen to a lot of music like that, like Ed Sheeran. I love Mumford and Sons. Anything that's kind of like indie. Some people might fall asleep to that kind of music, but I do love that. I think I listen to a lot of everything because I'm also super into oldies. Like all my walk-up songs, we had 3 walk-up songs a year at LMU. All of them were 80s or before. They're all rock songs, Van Halen and those kinds of bands.
You gotta give us a little bit more detail on those songs.
Well, obviously, the best walk-up song in the history of the world is "Rock You Like a Hurricane," which has been my walk-up song since 2009.
Great song. Was that by the Scorpions?
Yep. Yeah. I had "The Stroke" by Billy Squier.
Great song. Stroke.
Photograph.
Yeah.
Yes. And that pumped me up, man. I was like, this is competing with "Rock You Like a Hurricane." That's scary.
Same vibe.
Yeah. So, Def Leppard. All of those hair bands, if you will, that just really like heavy in the guitar. It's just so pumps me up. That's kind of the stuff I listen to before games. And I listen to Eminem and Lil Wayne are like my you don't picture it, but I know like all the words to all these songs. I'm like, this girl listens to Ed Sheeran and then she's rapping to Eminem.
Yeah.
It's weird.
That's being human.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's just ebb and flow. But recently I've been super, super into Lizzo.
So great.
I love her so much. Like,
Yeah,
if she
she's
never
great.
came out with another song ever, that'd be fine. Like, I'm so happy we have her, you know?
Yeah, totally. She's a blessing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago. She played at South by Southwest. And
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I talked my friends into coming with me to this free show. And I knew she was opening for a rapper named Talib Kweli, who I wanted to see
Okay.
too. And I mean, it's just there was hardly anybody there. She had
My
her
gosh.
dancers with her, and it was amazing. It was like
Oh
such
my
a fun
gosh.
show. So
That's
fun.
so cool.
Yeah.
That, gosh, to go from seeing that to seeing now. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that performance at the VMAs was incredible. Did you watch that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. She is
Magic.
so inspiring. I love her so much.
Same. Do you Netflix?
I sometimes get uh like give myself guilt for watching too much Netflix because I think of how much I could be reading instead.
Yeah.
But we just started Schitt's Creek,
Oh,
and
hilarious.
that's been really really fun.
The
I
characters are amazing.
I just it's so perfectly done.
Yeah.
We've only finished season 1, so I can't wait
Mhm.
to see what's next. But I my
Moira just like kills me. Like anytime she's on the screen, I'm just like, this is gonna
you
be
just
funny.
you know it's going to be a good time. That is, oh yeah, they're fantastic. But my go-to is Breaking Bad. I
Mhm.
Did you watch it?
I tried.
Oh, I hear that a lot, and it does hurt. But I've watched it, I've rewatched it, and then I've watched it again, and I just can't get enough of it. I love
Yeah.
it. And Dexter, they're pretty similar
Yeah.
in
That's
like
another
style.
try for me.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm more into like the drugs, blood, and murder. I guess that's I guess me. But but oh, we watched Love Is Blind.
Oh yeah. I can only do the first and last episode. So I
I
cheated.
cannot. I know it's okay because I almost was like, I can't believe I watched this whole thing. So
Hmm.
I've never done really like reality shows. I don't really watch any of those.
Hmm.
So this was one of my first real experiences. I'm like, is this why people watch The Bachelor? Because I'm addicted, you know?
Yeah, it is why.
And it was worse when we would finish an episode and I looked to my husband like, should we watch another one? He's like, hell yeah, this is bad. This is bad.
Yeah, just freaking wild.
Talk about a roller coaster. I cannot
Yeah.
believe. But then they said they were going to have more seasons, and I'm sitting there like, I'm going to watch it. I'm
Yeah,
absolutely going to
they
watch
need a
it.
Love Is Blind for softball.
Sign me up.
Yeah, it'll be trashy and people will love
Yeah, the best. Oh,
it.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, so invested.